back into the US. And that in turn has created a very differing scene across the United States, depending on where you look.
Azar Shukri in New York, thank you very much. Let's go a bit further down the seaboard, down to Washington, D.C. We have Tim Lussier. He is a former field director for the Trump for President campaign. Tim, thanks for sparing the time for Money Talks today. You must be feeling quite happy with the result, of course. But there is a bit of a fly in the ointment with these protests across the country. What do you make of those? It's a bit of a PR disaster, isn't it?
Well, you know, Trump was clearly elected by a mandate of the American people who are tired of Washington, D.C. controlling their life. And so Trump presidency looks like he'll be working with Speaker Paul Ryan and the conservative U.S. Senate majority for a better America moving forward, to power to the people away from Washington, D.C. We saw that with the Brexit. We saw that now with this election, a clear mandate that the people are tired of government running their lives, and they want the power back in the individuals. People are struggling in America. They're trying to feed their kids. They're trying to work multiple jobs. And so this is clearly a mandate for local control, which is kind of the American dream, is that you can have prosperity and peace on your own.
Tim, you mentioned Paul Ryan there, a very important figure. You've worked for him. Now that the Republicans have control of the presidency and of Congress, do you think that Trump will make a lot of progress in his first year or so?
Yeah, I worked for Governor Romney and now Speaker Paul Ryan. And so, yeah, Speaker Ryan has said, and working with Mr. Trump already, who's meeting with President Obama, as you mentioned today, the conservative majority in Washington wants to get rid of this $20 trillion in debt that we have, and annual deficits, and health care that cancels your insurance.
Well, how are you
going to
get rid of that massive debt by going on a spending spree on American infrastructure?
Well, it's the progressives that have gone on a massive spending spree on bailouts and all of these projects that didn't work, on healthcare run amok. And so, yeah, if there's money to build bridges in our infrastructure, then that will actually maybe create some jobs. But to rein in spending, to rein in this debt, so we have some stability in America, I mean, I think there's going to be a new American economy of thriving once we get Washington, D.C. out of the way. That's the mandate of the election. That's why the Brexit was a good start in Europe, and that's why in America we're ready to have a new, beautiful day.
Tim, a new, beautiful day. You're following in Trump's footsteps about dream big, dream beautiful, and et cetera, et cetera. But do you think that these aggressive tax cuts and financial deregulation that he's planning will come in quickly? And when will we see the results of this?
Well, I mean, the idea of fiscal conservative is that you live within your means. I mean, Margaret Thatcher wisely said that eventually the problem with socialism is you run out of someone else's money. And so, yeah, if Trump's going to spend money on infrastructure, then that's good. But Paul Ryan, who is Speaker and who I worked for under Romney, who was another candidate that I believed in previously to Mr. Trump, who I haven't always agreed with, they are going to work together. And Washington, D.C. is ready to have a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution so that we can finally get our fiscal house in order. I mean, we can't go around the world and starting wars and invading other countries and telling other countries how to live their life. We have to work on here at home, and I think that's the message that Trump actually had that resonated with the voters. Clearly, he won big in those states. He won with blue collar workers. He won in states that actually are struggling under regulation from Washington, D.C. So yeah, I think it's a new day in America, and I hope that beyond the protesters, we can come together and work together and solve America's problems here at home.
Tim Lussier, thank you very much for joining us from the nation's capital. We're going to take a look at some of the other top business stories from around the world now in 60 seconds.
Egypt's central bank has issued $2 billion worth of bonds to international creditors, trying to restore liquidity to its troubled financial system. The central bank didn't say who the international lenders were, but did add the bonds had a maturity of a year. Egypt has been restructuring its economy recently, hoping this will be enough to secure a $12 billion loan from the IMF. Yahoo, in its latest quarterly filing, has admitted its $4.8 billion sale to Verizon may not go through. Verizon may take back its offer because of the damage resulting from the massive email hack of 500 million Yahoo accounts in 2014. Yahoo also revealed that some of its employees were aware of the hack back in that year. And Greece's inflation rate has hit its highest level in 4 years last month. Consumer prices rose 0.6% in October, compared to negative figures in September. The main reason behind the jump in prices were higher housing and energy costs.
Right, back to Donald Trump now. We can't really get away from him. His election victory doesn't appear to have gone down very well with a certain demographic in the United States. We've seen all of those protests across the country. Also in Silicon Valley, there's some dissension. That's the nickname for that area of San Francisco and California, of course. And some of the entrepreneurs there want California to succeed from the United States until the end of Trump's presidency, at least. Take a look at this.
Very inexpensively. I will build a great, great wall.
Well, our editor-at-large, Craig Kapitas, is with me in the studio. We still have the benefit of your company in person. Craig, how wonderful. I wanted to ask you about Silicon Valley. What is their problem with Trump? He's such a likable guy.
Well, oddly enough, he wants to regulate them.
Okay.
He said, like a company like Amazon, his quote was that Amazon has a huge antitrust problem. Now, here's a guy coming into office who says he wants to deregulate. What's one of the first things he says? He wants to start regulating companies in Silicon Valley. Sounds more and more like FDR. Regulate.
Okay, but also he has a bit of a list, doesn't he, of problems. He doesn't like the fact that they're making things in China. He doesn't like the fact that they have money offshore. Things like that are beginning to get up there.
All kinds of things that, problems that he shares with the EU regulators who are saying the same thing. Offshore taxes, not paying enough money, manufacturing offshore. He wants to bring all these jobs back. The question is, can the American workforce in the Rust Belt, where he needs the jobs, do they have the technical skills to do the kind of wizardry to put together an iPhone or computer or whatever?
Yeah, and at a rate that can match people in China.
Yeah, well,
Very
you dream on that, Buster.
Okay. Now, he also says that he's, looking for, you mentioned Amazon, Jeff Bezos. He was complaining about them, the fact that they're such a big, almost a monopoly, and that's something he wants to see the end of, presumably.
Well, I cannot see his supporters going for that because his supporters are Amazon customers.
Okay.
I think this goes back to this kind of bluster that we heard from Trump during the nearly 600-day campaign. There's campaign Trump, and now hopefully we're going to see White House Trump. Will be two different
We
creatures.
seem to have seen that already. I mean, a bit of a U-turn on certain elements of his rhetoric. Well, let's go back to that original proposition from these Silicon Valley entrepreneurs that say California will succeed.
Absolutely.
Is that a joke?
It's not a joke. The Texans have tried to do this for years. And believe it or not, there's actually a law, a federal law in the United States on this that came down in 1869. The case was Texas versus White. There's only two ways you can legally secede from the Union. Either the other states have to agree to it, according to the court, or according to the court, you stage a revolution.
Oh, my goodness. All right, Craig. It looks like there's been one already in a way.
Pitchforks, muskets, baby.
All right, Craig, thank you very much for that. Plenty more coming up after the break on Money Talks. Will South Africa's President Jacob Zuma survive a vote of no confidence? The lines outside banks in India are getting longer. I'll tell you why. And we'll meet the designer who's kickstarting his business in Hong Kong.